Hey, what's going on, guys? Reaper here with Reaper's Papa San Supply. So I decided that tonight I would do a little bit of a live stream for a while. Probably won't be too long, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at the most. I've got some work that I've been needing to hey, what's going on, guys? Get done for an individual. I've actually made a few things for this guy. He requested a while back a tiger stripe Boonie hat, which it's been closer to 6 or so months since he ordered that one. Went ahead and made it, and I hand aged the whole Boonie hat and went in and hand dyed the black stripes on it to a dark purple. The reason for that is the tiger stripes that were made in country in Vietnam, when they would fade, the type of dye that they would use, it would fade to like a real dark purple. So I made that one for him off of an original photo, and he wanted it copied just like the one his father wore in Vietnam. I think I had 2 or 3 photos to go off of that one, and we initially agreed on one type of tiger stripe. Now there's like 10 different tiger stripes, patterns, materials, colors that were made for the wartime era. So we initially went ahead and agreed on a tadpole type tiger stripe. So went ahead and hashed that out and copied it as closely as I could to the original photo, which is kind of hard to do when you're looking at a photo that's damn near 50 years old. Kind of tends to wash out a little bit, and the fading in the photo and everything is really hard to determine. So we got that made. I think I sent it to his father initially. His father checked it out, and then he sent it to his son, Sean, which is who the Boonie hat's for, who's actually working in Russia right now. So it took him a while to get it and make sure that it would fit and the color and everything. Well, we all got to conversing, and his father looked at it, and it didn't look like the same type of tiger stripe material that his father had for his Boonie hat. So we went into some more looking, and we came up with the decision that it was Vietnamese Marine Corps camouflage tiger stripe. So that brought up a little bit of a problem, because there's very few people that reproduce that. It wasn't a very common form of tiger stripe during the war, and the location his dad was in was kind of strange. So it presented this real neat kind of hunt to find the proper material. So we found a company that reproduces the shirt and pants and the tiger stripe. So we had to order an entire jacket for the tiger stripe material, because there's nobody else that makes it that I could find to order or buy that same material. So the material I'm working with right now is this stuff right here. So like I said, it's kind of a rare type of tiger stripe. You don't see a lot of reenactors using it either. So that presented a higher cost to get it, because he had to pay pretty much the whole cost of the jacket to have it made. Which I actually cut the cost, because the first one wasn't right, and I even offered to buy it back from him to go ahead and put towards this one. But the way he looked at it is he loved it. He was happy to have a second one, maybe something to gift to his father or something. Unfortunately, he just had to pay a little more to get this stuff. So this is what I'm working on right now, guys. Here in a second, I'm going to go ahead and start sewing on it, and I'm working on the brim first. So I kind of work my way from the bottom up. So I start with the brim. I get the whole brim sewn up, which is just a circular pattern all the way around the thing until it's completely sewn up. About ½ inch of stitch apart from each other. So it's going around, you circle it all the way out until you hit the edge of the brim. And then you start with the sides of it that starts making the Boonie, and then you move up to the top and all that. So kind of an idea of what it's going to look like. It's going to be about this style of Boonie hat here. The only difference between this one and the one I'm making for Sean will be that his brim will be flatter and come out a little more like this with less angle and a little bit wider. So Um, this is an ongoing process for the Boonie hats. It usually takes me 2 or 3 days, but when I do something custom like this, it takes me a little longer, because what I did with the first one is I got as much detail from the angle that I had from the photo that he sent me, and I tried to position the tiger stripes in the exact same place on his father's Boonie hat to mimic his original Boonie hat as much as possible. So this is kind of the process of it. Like I said, it took me 2 or 3 days roughly to make and complete a Boonie hat, depending on the style and what details I got to put into it. Now, luckily, his doesn't have any loops on it, which doesn't really make it any harder. It's just one of those things that you got to go back over and have enough material to do it. So this is kind of how I start out a brim on a Boonie hat. I get the top 2 layers, the top part of the brim and the lower part of the brim, which are the 2 camouflage sides. And I fill the inside of the brim, which you can see here. I haven't cut it out yet. Is one big giant circular piece of material. So I do this mostly in part that when I stitch it up, it adds weight and strength, and it keeps it straight so it's not all floppy. It takes all the flop out of it. So when I sew it up, it tightens it up and makes that tight brim that you're looking for. Now with this one, I went 2 layers of canvas material in between it. One is going to help waterproof the brim itself, and 2, it adds that strength to it. So I've actually got 3 layers cut out that are already pre-cut, and then the middle layer, which will have to be cut out later for the circular part of it. So you can start at the outside of the brim or the inside of the brim. Either way, it does not matter. Just depends on how you want to put it together. Those of you guys seeing Grant there in the chats, he actually messaged me the other day about making him a custom Boonie hat in the older style woodland. So that's something else you may see me working on here soon. As I do this, you guys, I've got pins that actually hold the fabric tight together. That way, as I'm sewing it, it doesn't shift one way or the other, and you can kind of get a real good tight, pattern. That way, you're not off one way or the other. Hey, Granny, it's good to see you. Now, when you're making boonie hats and you're doing the brim, you really got to watch it, because as you're sewing it and you start getting out towards the ends of the fabric, it starts to like to try and fold over itself a little bit. That's the fabric somewhat stretching out as you sew it. So it takes a keen eye to watch it, and it makes it go a little slower along the process as well. As you do that, everything starts to tighten back up and lay out flat the way it should. So now, we'll basically run that course out, and you can see that the brim of the boonie hat now is a hell of a lot more sturdy. It's going to hold up a lot better. So what I've got to do now for the next step is go get my scissors, which I did not bring in here, go figure, and cut off the edges that are overhanging and then open up the inner part of this. So I'll have to measure and make sure that's going to be to his dome measurement there. Hey, buddy. As far as the CISO, I haven't started it yet. I actually had Sean ahead of you on the boonie hat. That's one of the things I had to get caught up on. Your boonie hat I should be working on in the next day or two, to be honest. I've got everything laid out to go ahead and get all the fabric cut and put the plastic lining in it. So everything's laid out for your boonie hat. and should have it done in less than a week, hopefully, provided everything out here goes well. I didn't get a very early start today because when I woke up, the power was actually out. Anyway, guys, give me 1 second. I got to grab my scissors. Okay, guys, so, well, buddy, I tell you what, when I do your Boonie hat, I will probably actually do a little live streaming on it as well. So you can drop in here sometime this week when I'm working on it and check out the progress on it as I make it real time. So anyway, I've got to cut the inner part of this flap out, guys, and then measure it to make sure it held. Now, don't want to go too wide with it because unfortunately I only have a limited number of this material. There's no redo process on this specific Boonie hat. So when I cut it initially, it should have been roughly 23 or so inches, maybe 24. It's about right where it needs to be since the guy has measurement of 23.8. So if I went up to 24, it wouldn't hurt because it will probably shrink down to that. Hey, Danny. Good to see you in here, buddy. Those of you who regularly watch my stuff, don't realize that a lot of the guys that may jump in here are some of my actual customers that I do business with on a regular on Facebook. And they'll send me original photos or they'll send me example photos or something that they want done, and we'll hash it out and get it figured out. But that's kind of why I started doing live streams of this stuff and made a separate channel specifically for the business. So guys that are on my business page on Facebook can actually jump on here and see some of the products I make. So I know that would really interest some of the guys, especially if it has to do with one of their items. So it gives them that chance. All right, so it looks like we'll actually have to open some of this up a little bit because we're at 22 inches. So that's just right on the money. Oh yeah, this is going to be kind of what you guys are going to see out of me on YouTube wise for the next month, roughly. I have a whole bunch of product to get done and made specifically for an event at the end of June. And I've got regular everyday orders going on right now too. Some things I'm going to get caught up on. Obviously, this is one of them. So it's going to be kind of a never-ending process for the next month of just constant everyday work. Been trying to split part of it up into the evenings a little bit, which may not last for much longer, because I'm going to have to step up the game a little bit for some of these things to get done in time. Hey there, Black Death. So one of the things with custom orders, guys, is when you have something of this standing, I would say, and this type of material, you have to be very careful about what you do, because any little mistake can cost you money. It cost $100 just to get this material to make this Boonie hat, you might as well figure, which I actually paid a little bit for to help the guy out at the time, because I made the mistake on getting the wrong material, which was kind of one of those things that we were both in agreement and understanding, but at the same time, I had offered to buy it back from him to make good, and he decided to keep it. So I gave him a little bit of a discount, partly because the material that ordered was a shirt, and I didn't have to use the whole thing. So since I didn't have to use the whole thing, I was able to salvage it and make it a good usable shirt still. So I fronted some of the money and just charged him the material out of the shirt I had to use. Hi, Granny. We'll see ya. Hope you get that figured out. Okay. Okay, just about got this one. So check the measurement again. So now, guys, it looks like we're at about 23 inches. So we'll take just a little bit more material off of the inside here, and then we'll start up on the edges of the hat. Oh, that's cool, Black Death. Yeah, like I think I mentioned in one of my last live streams of working on stuff here, is I modify a lot of my own clothes. Just one of those things, I guess, but you know, not everything fits when you buy it either, depending on what you buy and where you buy it and why you buy it. Now, that should be roughly the size that it needs to be. So, now we'll kind of start working on the edging. So a lot of times what we'll do here is a lot of the in-country boonie hats, they would double seam coming around. So you have a seam on one side and another seam here. A lot of times when they did that, they would copy that into the brim, but not always. I'm only doing this for this part here to get the proper curvature in it and to try and mate up some of these stripes the same way it was on the individual's boonie hat originally. So what I believe I will do first is take the top half of it and go ahead and start sewing it to the rest of this here.